structure. Question is, what does it say under Bank of England? And I'm sure there's a lot of people here that know what it says under Bank of England, but there may be some people who don't. So I'll tell you. It says, I promise to pay bearer on demand the sum of £10. Now my question to you is, do you want me to start again?
That'll be, well, it's okay. What do you want, Jonathan?
No, I'm fine, you carry on.
Okay.
Well, all I've done actually is just turn the page. Right, my question to you is, have you ever seen a sum of £10? Or have you only ever seen notes like that promising a sum of £10? Now, I have never seen a sum of £10, and I don't know anybody who has. However, if there is somebody in here who has seen a sum of £10, would you be so kind as to raise your hand? Because you'll be a first. Oh, I didn't see any hands going up. So are we actually saying that we've only ever seen notes, pieces of paper with some very nice, fancy printing on it, promising a sum of £10? Yes. And I think we've only ever seen notes with a different colour, but with some very fancy printing on it, promising a sum of £5 and a sum of £20 and maybe even a sum of £50 if you are really flash. I don't think I've ever seen one promising a sum of £100, but I'm sure they exist. But they're still only promising. And that banknote, that £10 note, was a promissory note, which, in other words, is an IOU from the Bank of England. Gosh, just think how many sums of £10 the Bank of England has agreed it owes. Gosh. Which it never actually pays. It's promising the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, people. No, but do we need it? That's the question, surely. Do we need it? Well, the first quarterly bulletin from the Bank of England in 2008, which I will remind you, at the end of that year, there was a great furore about bank bailouts and how the taxpayer had to pick up the tab. But at the beginning of that year, there's a very interesting bulletin, which on page 103, which it's a PDF, and it's page 105 of the PDF, bottom left paragraph, and it says, and this is a direct quote, banks extend credit by simply increasing the borrowing customer's current account, which can be paid away to wherever the borrower wants by the bank writing a cheque on itself. In other words, or that is, banks extend credit by creating money. Now the only difference between that and what it says in the PDF is I've underlined the last 6 words, and I think I'll probably put it in italics when it wasn't in italics, but apart from that, it's a direct quote. Now a translation of that is money is created out of thin air by means of human signature. We'll come on to that. I guess that includes the Bank of England, since it's all it's ever done since 1654 is to promise the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
94, Veronica.
94. You sure?
The Bank of England back in 1694.
Yeah, it's 1694.
No,
yeah.
yeah, the Bank of England's creation, not the Act. Sorry,
Ah.
I think it was.
No,
actually...
it was 94. 1694.
Okay,
Bank of
fine,
England,
all right,
yeah.
fine. I should have checked up on that. It's true, but okay, 1694 miscounted. Thank you. I will correct it later. Right. If you don't pay a demand, a court de facto will consider you of depriving whoever makes a demand. Right. We've already seen that money, legalese, politics, and religion are the same thing, namely faith placed in something. Can you deprive someone of their beliefs? Can you deprive someone of, say, their religious beliefs? I mean, it's not easy to deprive a Jesus freak of their belief in Jesus. You can welcome to try. Now, how can you deprive someone of their money belief? No, you haven't got it. Oh. The signature, the mark made by a human being, starts the money out of thin air creation process. Unless you sign something, nothing will happen. And if anything happens, you will have to make your mark. Along with a date and an amount, the signature creates an IOU, a promissory note. So when you sign something with a date and an amount, well, hey, check, for example. That's a good example, isn't it? Anybody here written a check? Oh yeah. Yes, I think we've probably all done that. It's a promissory note. Financial institutions would take this note and upon successful completion of credit checks to make sure that you are an energy unit and you agree to be an energy unit, that's your signature saying so. Yes, I agree to work my socks off. They will monetize it, which comprises typing numbers into a computer database these days, or formally writing numbers onto a paper accounting ledger. That's monetizing it. The title, the mortgage deed, sometimes it's called title deed, sometimes it's called mortgage deed, plus the mortgage acceptance pages, because the mortgage acceptance pages is probably about 8 pages of numbers. They comprise a promissory note, which must pay in full for the property you're buying, right at the start of the purchasing via a mortgage process. If you take out a mortgage by signing the title deed and sending it back, you have paid for that property in full. And I'll explain why. Mortgages, one of the biggest scams of all time. Nothing will happen until you sign the title of the mortgage deed. You can ring them up and say, listen, I'll sign it next week. Carry on. Ha! Do you think they will? No. Oh, well, you need to sign the title deed and send that back in. No, it's all right, I'll sign it next month. Get away. They've got to have your signature. But you are told not to date it. Now, most people, when they, I'm sure there are people here that have had mortgages. I've had 2 in my life. I can't remember. But it's a fact that we've gone through the process with people who have had this created mortgages recently. And yes, you're told not to date it. You sign it, and a witness signs it, by the way, a friend or whatever. But you don't put a date on it. And if you do put a date on it, it's okay, they'll just Tipp-Ex it out. Because that's what you send back. Plus the mortgage acceptance. But they have your signature on a deed. And filling in the date is easy peasy. Just a case of writing it in. And that combination now is a true promissory note. And the amount is the amount of the mortgage which is paying for that property. The full lot. 150 grand or whatever. 200 grand these days. So all I have to do is to monetize your promissory note, typing a few numbers into a computer database, which pays for the property in full. And I'll come on to why that must be. It's just a bit further down. You're going, well no, how can that pay for the property in full? It does. You watch. And it means that you are the sole owner with full title to that property that you just bought. Now they've typed the numbers in, and your name comes down as the full title. Now they can date that deed, which is why they have to do it, because they do it in their office. And then they can send that to the land registry to apply the charge in favour of the financial institution. That's the charge on the property. The charge is there to make sure you pay the repayments every month. Otherwise they take your house. But if you have